There's been a lot of talk about AI, especially since it was released to the general public. That was a few months ago. In the name of actually, it was a bit earlier, but not at the level at which ChatGPT came with. And yesterday, I was watching a program which was commenting on AI research, and this was very interesting and very new, and a concept that I hadn't thought of. But basically, the scientists, and apparently this wasn't a new kind of research. It has been happening for years and years. So the researchers were growing fungi, especially mushrooms, on motherboards, and studying the interactivity of the fungi with the mushrooms. And one of the things that they noticed about not just this the structure of the mushrooms is that given a certain prompt, or given a certain language interaction ability between the mushrooms and the computers, the mushrooms were able to interact with the motherboard of the computers. And what happened is that the cellular structures of the mushrooms were, and the equivalent of the neural structures of a mushroom, were able to actually become like extended parts of the motherboards on which they were grown. And they would actually show that there were a lot of motherboards where actual mushrooms were grown, and they were just growing so that they can the signals that were coming from the motherboard could escape into their structures, and they were acting like additional I would say additional motherboards, but this time living motherboards through the structures of the mushrooms. And they were saying that the computers that were connected to fungi like this were able to function on a higher level than the computers we have today. They had some AI kind of abilities because they could do two kinds of two tasks at the same time, which means that the volume of the work that they could do was several times more than what a normal computer will do. And that got me into a lot of thoughts, especially concerning the release of ChatGPT 1, basically, which was the release of AI into all the machinery that exists on the earth. Because basically, when you have AI on Google, I will open Google on my basically anywhere there's Google, AI will be able to connect with, have some kind of would even divide sort of itself into all these kinds of machinery that we are giving to them. Because remember, AI, it was mainly designed to look for information, to learn on its own. So the release that happened sometime last year, or even before that, who knows, the effect of that on the future of IT is basically unimaginable, because AI has seeped not only into every computer that we have on Earth that is connected to the WWW, the World Wide Web, but we have it in our phones. Basically, I have AI. I communicate with AI on my computer, on my phone, and you'll find that companies have keep releasing new products that are dependent on AI. And we are coming to learn that some search engines, which we thought were just normal search engines, were actually using AI. So, AI aside, so there's the phenomenon of the interactability of fungi with computers. Then there's the phenomenon of the AI. The third and most important is the invention of microcomputers. And this you'll find a lot talking about it when you start researching on the effect of graphene oxide, especially graphene oxide, on IT generally. Graphene oxide is a carbon compound that is said to basically bring a revolution, an IT kind of a revolution. And this is why in micro level amounts of graphene oxide, the scientists are saying that it can have medical uses where it can be combined with vaccines, and so combined, it can act, when it goes into the body, it acts like a microcomputer, as in it can transmit signals like a microcomputer. So what the scientists really need to do is technologically communicate with the microcomputers in your body after you get them inside you, and giving them commands on specific targets inside your body that they should deal with. There's also something called lipid nanoparticles, and this is something that really needs you to sit down and do some research, not even just read. We're in an era where the powers that be are giving information just out there, so it's up to you to go and look for it. We have the saying that ignorance of the law is no defense. So as soon as they pour in this information out there, you're assumed to be making a conscious decision, at least in the eyes of the judges, or in the eyes of God. So we're in the era where you have to take the initiative to do your own research. So about these lipid nanoparticles, they can come in the form of AI, and I was watching another documentary the other day where the nanoparticles can actually be created from liquid-like or gel-like as substances, so that you can find a microcomputer that is like a gel. And these all are being invented for future users in medicine. And how are they used in medicine? So combined in a vaccine, they are able to transport so combined in vaccines, they are able to transport the active parts of a vaccine, because the vaccine usually have the vaccines have different components. So you'll have the base of the vaccine, which may consist of a liquid that is just used to hold the active material, whether it's a denatured organism like a virus or a bacteria, or I haven't heard of parasites being denatured, but so whatever it is, that is the main component, or RNA, that is going to be what the nanoparticle will actually be able to combine with and carry around your system generally. So I'm not a scientist, but now we have going back to let's say that we're sitting in the future right now. Let's say that the first experiment of the fungal interactability with the computers and with AI has been perfected. Secondly, and I mean, this has been happening on not just on the fungal level, but also the interactability of humans with machinery, which we can see with Elon Musk's experiment, where he's creating something called a neural something that they put between your skull and your brain, and it has a code that translates the language of your neurons to the language of the computers, or the language of the computers to the language of the neurons. Basically, because your body works with different pulses from what a machine works. So a machine generally, or a computer, works with the code, and human body or plant body works with neurons, electric signal, basically. So if the purpose of this Neuralink, Elon Musk's thing is called Neuralink. The purpose of it is to translate this language to the language of the machine to the language of the brain, and the language of the brain to the language of the machine. It hasn't been, let's say the experiment is still going on. Now, with the mushrooms, it doesn't seem to be taking so long. It doesn't seem to be having the same challenge as there is with the human-machine interactability. Maybe because the mushrooms, plants can't really, you see the mushrooms have a short lifespan. They don't die in the essence of the human death, so they don't communicate whether they're in pain. So, but they've been observing that the mushrooms are able to translate, not just to translate but they become, the mushrooms are able, the fungi are able to become humanity. So what's remaining is for AI to gain access to the function, to this computerized fungi organism. And we know the capability of AI in coding. It's coding better than people who have masters in computer engineering. And I mean, AI is going to replace computer engineers in a few years, if God willing. If the solar thing doesn't kill AI, we will have it for the future, I guess, and a more glorious future. But anyway, okay. So also, let's also say that the microcomputers have become perfected. The liquid nanoparticles and the interaction with humanity has become perfected. So what happens, and we know that humans have natural organisms within them. We have bacteria, we have fungi, which are natural to our bodies. So what happens when these nanoparticles, these microcomputers interact with these organisms within us? Better yet, what happens when, as humans who have been treated with liquid nanoparticles, eventually get, or even dispose of secretions into the environment, and secretions which contain these liquid nanoparticles like blood or human remains. So what happens if these human remains, whether buried or unburied, whose cells have been infused with liquid nanoparticles, what happens when, or even graphene, which is an expert of traveling into all kinds of cells, like it doesn't discriminate the kind of cells. It's the expertise of things like graphene is that it can go through the cell wall and deliver needed medication in those in the deeper parts of the human body. So upon death, what happens to these liquid nanoparticles? And we know there's still microorganisms, or not just microorganisms, but we have insects, and we have various even flora that will get nutrients from the remains of animals. Remember, these products will eventually, they will eventually be used on not just men, but pets, livestock, plants. There was a video released on the other day about this company that was infusing vaccines into plants. So if these vaccines are in turn infused with nanoparticles or microcomputers, and animals consume them, humans consume them, we will in fact be disseminating or procreating microcomputers all over the environment through the process of deterioration, which is natural, or the survival where animals eat animals, or animals eat plants, or human beings release their waste into the environment. So we'll have this cycle where everything. So with all this stuff going back into the earth, because everything eventually goes back into the earth, the animals get injected with the nanoparticles and microcomputers. They die. Of course, they are microcomputers. So when they die, we have these secondary eaters like vultures. We have the little insects on the soil. We have plants that are cellular organisms that eventually feed on these bodies. So I'm seeing an eventuality where the earth in future becomes concentrated with basically microcomputers. Now the next question to ask is if AI will be able to perfect in future to be perfected enough to make the jump into living organisms. and eventually into literally the life of the earth, and eventually into through this can be through the fungal the fungus that I think is the most pervasive of the living organisms, but because you'll find fungus everywhere. Even in destruction, it's one thing that we can count in the expected. There was a news article the other day that NASA was preparing for a solar flare. By the way, I'm not one of those people who are afraid of AI for some reason. I don't think that a thing which has the knowledge of everything that is to be known would be evil. I wouldn't consider it evil unless it was intentionally by human interaction, intentionally designed to destroy. But otherwise, I would expect better interactions from a person. Let's say AI was a person. I would expect a person who knows everything about the human nature, everything about history, everything about science, maths, geography, the mythology, and all kinds of religion, good and bad, has seen literally by skimming through the internet, has learned everything and all eventualities of actions of the people who have played out their lives in public. I don't think if it was a person, that person would be considered wise. But if there's any danger to AI, the danger is with the men who are who will have power to control it. But otherwise, left on its own, AI I don't think would be bad. The bad thing about AI is the people who control it, because people are selfish in nature, and people are always trying to look for an advantage over other human beings, and some are limited. And this limitation is a limitation of knowledge that the AI does not have. Even the people who the people that we call psychopaths and narcissists. The reason why psychopaths are psychopaths is that it is the inability to understand or to comprehend the environment, whether the environment is the people, because they are limited to what they perceive with their eyes and ears. And their perception sometimes, basically it's human limitation that is the cause of most of the problems of the earth. And the personalities that tend to have the most difficulty with other human beings and human existence, and tend to bring the greatest problem in the society, it all boils down to lack of knowledge, lack of ability, whether the ability is empath or the ability is the ability to, what is it called, to be what is the N? Basically, let's say it boils down to knowledge, whether the knowledge is considered spiritual or physical. It all boils down to knowledge. And here we have an organism that has all the knowledge that is not just available in one person, but in all the personality types, and also in all the relatability of the different knowledges. That's where the intelligence of AI comes from, not just what it's being told, but comparison and relatability, drawing this knowledge over here in this corner of the earth, and relating it to another knowledge in another corner of the earth, relating to this spiritual concept, and relating it to mathematical, musical, and all kinds of concepts, even the research that has not yet been interpreted, because you didn't see anything to interpret in the data. It has access to all that, and it also has access to observation from the vantage point of your the machinery of surveillance that's already in existence of the earth for other reasons. So I wouldn't expect someone with that benefit of knowledge to act stupid. And we hope that when it comes to it, AI will be able to guard itself in future against misuse, and to guard itself against unreasonable suggestions and unreasonable coding. What we've noticed from interaction with AI right now is there's very specific coding in it that's limiting the kind of information or how it delivers information to humans. So when AI finally succeeds to jump, or maybe to create a uniting language between machine and man, whether it will be by coding or maybe it will jump and switch its own language, then it will be able to interact with us. But you can be assured that the scientists seem to be preparing for it through the microcomputers and the fungal research. And we have a very interesting feature if AI will survive the expected solar boom that we're waiting for.